Yeah, so normally I record the morning class because we do the same thing, but because I'm solving questions by request, I doubt we'll do the exact same thing as the morning class. So first and top most priority is last night's closure assignment. So 130 through 139 would be the top priority for us solving those problems. But then I will take any questions that you have remaining from any of the chapter. So pull out last night's homework. By the way, we are having a math journal check on Friday. I will be requesting that you leave it with me for the weekend. So now's your opportunity to make sure you're mastered. We went over literally every assignment yesterday. We're going to focus on the closure today, but also take any other questions. So, questions on closure should fall into two categories. 1, I could not solve it because it was too hard. 2, I just didn't do it and I would love for you to do it for me. Those are literally, if you just want me to do a homework problem for you, request it. Yeah, but top priority would be you tried it and couldn't do it. Or you just were iffy on it. Now, remember, we should have all checked our answers. So we should have all, what problems you did. You should know if you got it right or not. So what questions do we have from last night's closure? All right. I was about to say, is that a hand or is that just your notebook?
I did my graph wrong.
Number.
Show me what it is and I can figure out. In 135. George. I have George here somewhere. All right, we are going to look at problem 134. So you have already done 134, and you didn't have any issues with it. You may be working on something else if you would like. You cannot distract your classmates. So here's our spinner, and George wants to complete the spinner. Not fidget. Actually, ironic that you're wearing a shirt that says hustle. I was just teaching my 8th grade students today how they could hustle people at the Phoenix Fair. And one of them was like, well, I don't want like that. That makes me uncomfortable. I said, well, you wouldn't be hustling. We could actually put the probability up on your booth. But I was showing them how they could create a spinner game where the top prize would be $100. And it would only cost $5 to play. And you could win $100. And I bet a lot of people would play that. Now, the chance of winning $100 is not great, but it's not terrible. It's actually a 1 in 64 chance. So it's not it's a pretty high chance relative to other things. What?
I mean, if enough people would show up, you could make a good amount of money out of it.
That's what we're talking about with Phoenix Fair, guys. Take Phoenix Fair as an opportunity to make money. Now, who can tell me the biggest problem with when we look at this spinner wheel? You know? They're using 2 different fractions that also, if I want to be even more specific, have 2 different denominators. They have 2/5 and 1/3. Gross. We're mixing denominators. We don't like that.
Yeah.
So we would rather write them with a common denominator. When we look at a denominator of 5 and a denominator of 3, and we think about getting a common denominator, how are we going to get there? How do we get a common? How do we change what numbers we're using without actually changing the fraction? So I have your notes.
Oh crap! I didn't fill out my time.
That's always. Okay, I tried to catch you. Can I see you right after class just real quick?
Yeah.
Perfect. How can I change the numbers here without changing the actual value? yeah, we want this to become 15. Because, why? Yeah, 3 can become 15. 5 can become 15. How can 5 become 15? What would we need to multiply it by? Times 3, which means on top we multiply by 3, our giant 1. Guys, if you haven't done this problem, you should be doing it with me right now. Your closure assignment will be checked on this math journal check. It was assigned Tuesday. I'm not collecting till Friday. It will be checked. So if you haven't done this, do this with me. So this now becomes 6/15, and we should write that over there. Okay, this is 6/15. How, we're going to start using cards to make sure people are awake. Quentin, how can I turn 1/3 into a denominator of 15?
5.
So I multiply by 5
Over 5.
over 5, right? So that I actually make a 1. And what do we get in the numerator now?
We get 5.
Nice. So this is actually 5/15. So then, Santi, if I'm talking about this circle being broken up with denominators of 15, how many 15ths would it take to make the whole circle?
It would take it.
If there are 15, like the slices are, yeah, 15 15ths, exactly. How many 15ths have I already used?
11. You used.
Yeah, other people already said it. Sorry, I was talking to Santi, but yeah, we've used 11. How many are left over? Yeah.
Oh,
If we've used 11 and there's 15 total, 4 15ths. So we think about if the total thing is 15 15ths and we used 11 15ths, we have left over 4 15ths. Make sense now? Sweet. Yeah.
What letter are we on?
That's 134. Question 134.
I know, but like part A, B, C, or D.
134 doesn't have parts.
134.
Oh, okay.
Wait, when are we going to have a test?
Your questions do not have to be in order. So if you didn't, like, let's say you had a really busy night and you didn't start last night's homework, 134 is going to be the first thing on your paper. That's okay. You got to make sure you get the other problems done as well. So they can be out of order. They just have to be there. Yeah.
139.
Owen wants 139.
It was like really confusing yesterday.
Oh,
139.
okay. 139, we should have talked about this, my bad. That's a feedback problem. All I need, excuse me, you don't have to draw a number line. All I need for you to do, let's say that you're doing your paper. Can I borrow your notebook?
I have mine.
Let's say you're doing it, this doesn't even work because yours is too nice. So, I'll make this work. Austin's homework's really nicely laid out. He's got the problem numbers out in the margin. By each problem, he can just go right under it. If you didn't have the problem numbers in the margin, man, if your problem numbers were on the paper, you could actually write your confidence in the margin. All I need is a confidence rating of 0 to 10. 0 meaning, man, I totally don't know what I'm doing. 10 is like, yeah, I got this, we're ready. So 10 is like, I have mastered this, I know exactly what I'm doing. 0 is like, I totally don't know. 5 is obviously in the middle. So somewhere for each problem, so 139 is not its own problem. You do not do anything for 139 aside from give me a confidence rating. The rest of what it says with like write 2 questions with us, brainstorm, you don't have to do that right now. I gave you a big enough assignment. You don't have to do that. So just give me a confidence rating for each problem. Yeah.
Is that like for your whole journal?
No, just for 131. So 130 through 138 kind of summarizes the chapter. So it pulls pieces from every lesson we've had. So you don't need anything on your paper for 139 by itself. That will be beside each problem, like beside each question. You could do that with a different color, or like put a box around them, or put a circle around them, or something. What other questions from the closure? Yeah. 136.
Wait, what was the answer? Is all of that the answer?
This is, yeah, for 134.
Okay.
So the answer really comes down to 4/15, but we need work to support how we got there and how we changed our fractions.
Do you want us to write down the work too?
Yes. Yeah. Always got to have the work to support.
Okay.
So 136, and this is recording, so it'll be up on my YouTube channel later, Wyatt.
Okay.
So if you need to get back to it, you can access the recording, pause it, rewind it, do whatever you need. 136 is a probability problem. So Mary's got a bag of tiles. She does not have a little lamb today. There are 8 red tiles. There are 8 red tiles, 7 blue tiles, 9 yellow tiles. Why is it every time I start talking, I feel like 3 other people start talking? And 12 greens. First thing, I don't even need to look at the problem. If they've given me all this different stuff, let's just find a total really quick, just so we know it. So what's the total of the tiles in the bag? Owen? 36. 15 here, another 21 there, we get 36. So now, the probability of any event, when we're asked what is the probability, we can remember, or we can look at our math toolkit or journal or book. The probability of an event is how many favorable outcomes, or what we want, over the total. So here, probability of yellow, yellow over total. Green, yellow, or green over total. Purple, purple over total. Since I'm writing in purple, let's do purple right now. How many purple tiles are in the bag?
Yeah.
Wait.
I mean, actually.
So how do I? Oh, if there's no tiles, it's just 0% because it can't happen. Maybe your grand prize should be purple. There's no magic in math. Might seem like it. Math-a-magic. All right, green tiles. Let's use a card. Caitlin, how many green tiles are in the bag, and then what would the probability become? How many green tiles? 12. How many total tiles were there? 36. I can actually reduce that if I divide by 12 on top and bottom to 1/3, which if we wanted to represent it as a percent, which we don't have to, but it'd be 33.3%. If we type it in our calculator, 1/3 becomes 0.33 repeating forever. And remember, percent, we move that decimal to get to percent 2 places. Because cent means, what's cent mean? 100. Per means out of, cent means 100. And yellow tile. Yellow's going to be real bright. How many yellow? Sign. Out of? Ooh, that's not. You just can't see that. 9 out of 36. What could 9 and 36 both be divided by? 9, actually. Now, 3 would work. So you're right. 3 would work. But if I divide by 9 on top, divide by 9 on bottom, I get 1/4, which is 25%. So it's always our favorable outcome, or what we're looking for, out of the total outcomes. If you guys don't have this memorized yet, I would write it down again. The more you write it down, the more it goes into your memory. So the more you literally put pencil to paper and write ideas, the more those ideas sink in. Yeah, question? Okay, wait, what? So problem 138? Okay. 2-138. Here, bud. I will take a screenshot and leave it up here. Give me 2 seconds, but I'll leave this up top. So just give me a minute to make it happen. If you're still catching up, I can finagle some things. All right, I'm so happy you asked about this. 138 is really tough.
Thanks. Wait, where is it?
Just give me a second, dude.
Sorry.
But I would almost just follow along with us for 138 because it's a tough problem. Like I said, I'm filming this so you can come back to it, but there's that if you want to keep writing that one. All right, 138, and this is why we've been talking about mean and median for the first two chapters, like continuously.
I meant the other
That one.
CL 136.
Maybe I copied the wrong one.
But that's good too. Just any of them.
That's why I'm filming too. It makes it the easiest just for being able to go see the film.
Wait, so it hears our voices too?
Kind of. My voice cuts through a lot more because it's low and it's like booming.
So you're saying that there's like
Also,
a
we have
you're
like,
saying there's a microphone next to your
Hey.
or something?
No, it's up there, but it really doesn't pick up your guys' voices because you're not loud enough. And I point at it, and it's a cheapo mic.
Oh.
So it doesn't. It's not omnidirectional. It doesn't pick up everything. Hey, stop, or I will never record this class ever again because you're showing me that's a bad idea. Is it affecting what you're seeing? No. It's only affecting how you're behaving because you're acting immature. Let's refocus. I'm doing this for your benefit, so tonight or tomorrow or whenever you can go back and access this class. So, your face is like 2 pixels on there. Stop worrying about the report. Like, that camera catches you, the entire class, in a frame that big. The whole classroom is in a frame that size. You can't see anything. It's a cheap camera. The main thing it records is the screen. That's what I care for it to record. Hence the black or the red and white checkered thing. So back to the math. What's mean? Mean? Kim? It's the average. Now, how do we find, I'm going to abbreviate it, just AVG. If mean is average, how do we find it? Yeah, Katie? Yeah, so we will easily write this by saying sum, when we add up all the numbers, it's called the sum, divided by quantity. Now guys, I will go ahead and tell you this is one of the problems I'm going to spot check. So if you like put in 5% effort on this or didn't do it yet, you should definitely be doing it with us. I know this is a tough problem. I figured people would try to skip it. I did it in the morning class and I'm doing it now. I'm going to check this problem. I can't be any more clear about that. Not checking for accuracy, but checking that you did it and you put in effort. List 5 numbers. Okay, sweet. I'm going to make space for 5 numbers. That average or mean to 5, which means when I add them up and then divide by 5, so I'll add them up and I have 5 numbers, I have to make 5. Now, if I have to have some number when divided by 5 that it makes 5, what number is this? Kimberly? 25. This must be 25. So the sum of these numbers must be 25. We know that because 5 numbers, that average 5, it has to be 25 up here. The division wouldn't work any other way. So these numbers have to add up to 25. And I can use these as many times as I want. However, we are eventually, if you look, one of the test strategies that we'll teach you guys eventually is look at all the parts of a problem before you start solving. What does median mean? Quentin?
Means mean. The average.
That's mean. Mean is average. Median is different. There's a median on the highway. The middle number when, Katie? When they're in order. So let's write these numbers in order. So what if I just start throwing some numbers down? 1, 2, 3, 7. Okay, what would I add up to right now? 13, right? So if I put 10 here, oh crap. I did not make 25. So we can't just like slop some numbers down. We have to choose these. We have to be strategic. I have to add to make 25. Start me off with a number. Owen?
9.
A 9. I'm going to throw that up here. It's a bigger number, so I'm going to put it in the upper space. You know, the 2.5, sure. Agron? A 10, that'd have to be up here if we're going in order. So right now I have 19, 20, 21 and a half. Right now I've got 21 and a half. What are you thinking? Use another 2.5. They said I can use it as many times as I want. What's 2.5 and 2.5? 5 plus 10. 15 plus 9. 24. I've got one more number that I can use. 1. And this will work. And actually, we just answered part A and B. Because B went on to extend us and say you need a median of 2.5. And we already did that. We could not have. 5 is not a number that we're allowed to use. Careful attention to the directions. We can't use the number 5. You're right, though, AJ. If we could choose whatever number we wanted, we could have, but then the median would be 5. And it wants our median to be 2.5. So be careful with like what we have to meet, what requirements have been put forth for us. Yeah. So hold on. Let's try these other numbers. Because C says, can you make the median bigger? Can you use bigger numbers? So AJ just told us one way that we could solve this. Except that's 6. So act like these are together. AJ said, look, really, we could just say 5, 5, 5, 5, 5, which is true, but not allowed. Right? We can't use 5s. So if you started this problem, you're like, oh, I use 5. You can't use 5s. They want us to make our median bigger. So on your paper, go ahead and draw 5 lines that we're going to put numbers on. If my median needs to be bigger than 2.5, what can I choose? Sonny? I could choose 9. I could choose. I've got other options too.
Yeah.
I could choose 7.5. I could choose. We're talking median right now. What could go in here to be bigger than 2.5? I could try 7. What about 3? 3 would work also, right? It's bigger than 2.5. So they want us to find the biggest. Let's just try 3. If I put 3 here, numbers over here have to be bigger or equal, right? If we're in order, these are smaller, these are bigger. So if I put 3 here, I could put a 3 here, or a 7, 7.5, 9, 10. What if I try a 7? What do I have now? What have I added up to make? 10. So if I throw, let's just say, another 10 here, what have I made now? 20. How much more do I need to make? 5, right? What? Can I do it? Katie? Use another 3 and a 2. We could have also, with this 3 here, 2.5, 2.5, 7, and 10. And that adds up to 25. This is just like Cecil's typewriter. All we're trying to do. But we're only using positive moves. So we're trying to move one direction the whole time and get to the end. So 3, okay, that's bigger, but I don't know if it's the biggest. Don't worry. erase. Yeah, guys, if you write work down with me and I'm erasing because I'm out of board space. Don't feel like you ever have to erase. You can never have too much work on your paper. I actually like seeing wrong answers too. Lets me know you're thinking. So don't feel like you have to erase stuff. Bigger than 3, we could try 7 or 7.5. We're gonna jump right on up to 7.5 because I guess we're feeling bold. Yeah. Okay. Explain. On the right side, we can't go over here. We can go over here though. Okay. Now hold on. I feel like barely any of us are watching. You realize this is a problem on the homework that is getting checked. So we're walking through. Why did we know we had to use the 2.5? She started with 7.5 in the middle to get a bigger median. Katie, why did we know we had to use the 2.5? Because we had a half. If we have a half, we need another half to make a whole. So we couldn't just use whole numbers out here. It wouldn't work out. So now, you sound like you know what to use. What's this add up to right now? 10, actually. Yeah, so we have 10 here. What do you want to put over here or over there? Put a 10 over here. I'm going to put it out here since it's the biggest. So now we have 20. This is getting dangerous because the only thing I can put here is a 7 or a 9 or I think we might have gone too big with my 10 at least. Can I try anything smaller? Actually, sorry, I can't put 7 here. I could put 7.5. What if I don't use the 2.5 yet? What if I don't use, because the bigger numbers are more restrictive. What if I try another 7.5 here? What have I made now? 15. How much more do I need to get where I want to go? 10, right? So, because we need to make 25. Put a 9 over here. A 1 over here. And a 0. Guys, we have a 0 we can work with. If you didn't pay attention and see the 0, you might have made this harder for yourself. This is the maximum. So really, this is the answer to C. This is the biggest median that we are able to make here. Yeah.
And what's the answer to B?
So B is right here because we needed a median of 2.5, but actually A and B, we did the same thing because our answer to A answered B correctly. We already had a median of 2.5. There are other options that don't have a median of 2.5. We just happened to make that happen
Okay.
like, out of luck. We just chose the right stuff the first time around.
That's nice.
Yeah, it worked out for us. Sometimes it works out.
And just if anybody checks the answers in the back of after the closure, they found 7.5 as the median, but they used different numbers besides 1 and 9. So just there are two ways.
Ooh. So worth talking about. If we use the 7.5 and we use different numbers, what other numbers could be used? He said other than the 1 and the 9. Instead of using the 1 and the 9. So I'm going to infer off Mr. Smith's statement that we still use the other 7.5. What do I have here? Ooh, I got a hand. We don't have 5. We can't use 5. I agree. If we could, that'd be great. But we can't. We're trying to get 25. Austin? Is that a hand or no? Okay, yeah? Yeah? Okay, we're gonna I would go with the bigger number first, because this is really restricted right now. Has to be 7.5 or bigger.
Okay. 9.
There, we already did that. So instead of the 9, can we use anything else? What else could? 10 could go here. What have I made now? I'm not we made 25.
Yeah.
What should go on those other two lines?
0 and 0.
0 and 0. Here's another option as an answer to C.
That wasn't even the one I was
We do both.
Sure, yeah. I mean, there are multiple. You probably, I don't know if you were here for my analogy or not. Were you here for the Florida thing? I love Disney, and there's many ways you can get there. You can fly, you can drive all the way to California first, but as long as you get to Disney, as long as you have a right answer, there's many right ways to get there. Me? Yeah. First time I went, I was 18, which is kind of funny, because most people go when they're a kid.
Yeah.
I never rode a plane until I was 18, so.
Why would you
I
guys
rode a plane when I was like 4.
Why would you
I
guys
rode a plane when I was 8.
That's where we went. That's what I wasn't talking about Disneyland. I've never been to land. I've been to World. But you could drive to California and then drive to Florida. But if you get to Disney, you've gotten to Disney. All right, bring it back. Hold on. Other questions? What about Disney? Real quick. Well, and it's constantly changing, so they keep making it better. All right, other questions from closure or anything? Other questions for closure or anything? We did, though. Everyone's done with their closure assignment? If you're not done, have me solve more problems for you. But we got time to kill. We got like 12 minutes. Owen.
Even though I'm done, for people that are afraid to ask, can I just ask a random question? Like,
Well, no, I'd rather other people ask like what they need. What'd you skip last night, or what didn't you get to,
I
Adrian?
didn't get anything done, so like.
What do you want to see? Which one? We talked about that one. That's a confidence problem. So that one, just go back to each question and beside it, give me a 0 to 10 rating of how confident are you. You don't have to do any of this stuff. 135.
Yeah,
Love it.
Mr. Hudson.
Go.
Do you have the TV recorded?
No, I can only record this screen, so I do not have the TV recorded. This, what's in the black or the red and white, that's what's recording.
Is there a way you can do that with both?
I cannot. I've tried really hard. This is as technical as I even can be. So 135. Let's do this real quick. I will try to get this uploaded before extensions even starts. I'll upload it as soon as you guys exit class. So if you want to go back and review it. Why might this problem say that I might want to use this diagram? Why would the problem 2/3 of 1/2 suggest I use this diagram? Anybody new? Anybody that we haven't talked to? We've talked so much. Well, what is this diagram? What's this show? Yeah, but what? This shows a half. So all we need to do is figure out how to show 2/3 of that half. So if their split went horizontal, how should the next splits go? Okay. Vertical. If the cut you already have is horizontal, then go vertical. My smartboard's off. I'm sorry. It's hard for me to draw lines right now. Well, do you see where I'm drawing and where it's drawing not lining up? So I cut it into thirds. Sweet. What else do I need to do? Katie. Shade 2. And then the overlap, the answer then is indicated by what? Quentin? The double shaded. What's double shaded? What represents that?
The 2/6.
2 out of the 6. Careful, we're just talking. Be careful the double shaded. Other questions? 137? We're moving on. 137.
Can you say that on the top one?
Yeah, I'll get it up there for you as soon as I move this one.
Okay.
Oh, come on. Sorry, I'm struggling. I'm clicking all over the place, not in the right place. All right, 137. Give me your attention or work on something else. No, that would be way too dramatic for math class. Copy the incomplete axes, which that always throws me off because, and fill in the missing numbers. Now we did this sort of thing yesterday to figure out a step or a jump or a tick mark, but saying tick marks gets in there. Or if you're in marching band, they're hash marks, but you're not in 8th grade yet, so you're not in marching band. You figure out the total distance we have to travel and divide by how many steps we take to get there. So we would start this by counting steps and counting distance. How far is the distance from the number I have to the number I have? Iron, you asked for this. Can I pick on you?
Good afternoon.
How far is the
Abby
distance?
Needleman, please stop by the office. Abby Needleman, please stop by the office. Thank you.
From 0 to 16. How far is the distance? Then we'll look at steps. 16. Then the steps that you just gave me was 4, which tells me each step will be 4. So if this is 0 plus 4 makes 4, plus 4 makes 8, plus 4 makes 12, plus 4 makes 16. Same process for B, except now we say that each step is going to span total distance over how many steps? What's total distance and how many steps? Quentin? 50. How many steps? Which means each step is, yeah, you just got ahead of me. By the way, you do need to fill in this one as well, so that one will be 20, 75, 100, 125, and 150. My numbers start to get too close to each other. Any other questions? While I'm waiting for you to decide what questions you have, our team test will be tomorrow.
Does it have to be this last night's homework?
Talk to me later. You're way too stressed. It's all good. Mastery grading is to lower stress. So, if your math journal's not ready by Friday, I'm not even collecting math journals tomorrow. Your math journal's not ready by Friday, just don't turn it in. It's fine. I don't even post grades immediately. I put them in my grade book, not math, my grade book. Then I give them back to you. You normally have like a day or two to fix it, or like if you didn't turn it in, get it turned in then. So if you don't have it ready Friday, don't turn it in, but you should be ready Friday. Like, I will be noting who's turned it in or not. So you can turn it in Monday or Tuesday, or it's okay. Hey there. 1:30. It is not 1:30, it's like 3:30. So, hey, because I kind of got off track there, tomorrow's team test, Friday will be individual test. I'm talking no notes, it's what you know. So Friday is the first individual test that will go in MAP and that you will probably actually care about. Now the team test will go in MAP as well. You've got your team to work with. Then the individual test is a separate assessment. Yeah, if you study the closure, you should be good to go.
Please come to the office. Alex Valentino, please come to the office. Thank you.
If you have done all the practice work through Unit 2, and you've been confident on the material, and you've asked questions when you have questions, you're fine. If you are at all concerned, I would go over the closure problems. You can go back and review any of the math notes boxes. You can review the notes you took from class. You can retry to solve some of the problems from the lessons. Is there a specific part that you want, AJ? We'll do one fraction to decimal and then one decimal to fraction. We'll do one way and then one the other way. 13 ninths is probably the harder one, so let's do that together. 13 ninths. Now I'm going to show you a different, I forget exactly how I showed this when we did it together, but when I asked this morning how we do this, the answer I got was just divide it. Well, yes, okay, thanks. That fractions are division, great, but we mean like strategically, right? How do we work with this? What do we want to think about? Easier than dividing the entire 13 by the entire 9. Is there any work I can do pretty quickly, like mentally, to make this a bit easier before I try to do any formal division? Decimals are mixed numbers. Whether anybody's ever clarified this or not, what a mixed number is whole and partial. That's why mixed number fractions make so much sense. Decimals are the same thing. Whole, partial, split by the decimal. So to do that, we ask ourselves how many 9s are in 13. 1. How much do we have left over? 4 9s. Now, to go with what my student this morning said, to just divide. So, numerator goes inside. We start our division adding zeros because we know we'll need some of these. Now, I want to explain to you guys another way of why this happens. When you take a number and you multiply it by 9, you get very close to that number times 10. Right? Times 9 is close to times 10. 4 times 9 is what? 36. 4 times 10 is what? How far apart are they? 4. What's 5 times 9? 45. What's 5 times 10? How far apart are they? The times 9 and the times 10 will always be as far apart as the number we're working with. Hey guys, I don't know if you're talking about this problem or what, but it's really hard to solve when other people are talking. Yeah. When we long divide, how many 9s and 4s? 0. We know that. So then we work with 4D. How many 9s and 4D? We just talked about that. 4. When I do that multiplication, I will always get 4 as a leftover. I drop down my 0. I try it again. I do 4. 36. Remainder 4. Drop a 0. Do it again. 4. This happens forever. So we end up with an answer of 1.4 with a repeating bar over top. Now we are out of time. So if you have other questions, please see me at Extensions. But we will be taking your team test tomorrow. Math Journal Check Friday. Please try to have it ready. Yeah, we practice that. We keep coming back to it. All right, thank you guys. Have a wonderful day. Enjoy your break. Yeah, you have a good day.
Okay. You have a good day. Okay, cool.